In most forms of Japanese media, manga is huge. These stylized, serialized comic books, run from right to left, are typically printed in black and white, and are often the basis of entire media franchises. In most major animes, the animated form of manga, the manga comes first and is adapted into a motion cartoon if it's popular enough. With Pokémon, however, manga didn't start appearing until after the anime. Combined with the fact that we didn't start getting one of the most popular North American sources for manga, Shonen Jump, until 2002, most North American Pokémon fans don't even know that Pokémon manga exists. In short, there's a lot of it. All kinds of specials, movie adaptations, retellings, and various art styles exist throughout the Pokémon manga universe, but today I'm going to talk about arguably the two that are the most popular, Pokémon Adventures and The Electric Tale of Pikachu. In many ways, these works are interesting because they are much darker and much more serious than the television show, and, as is the case with a lot of Japanese media, a lot raunchier. In this Pokemon Fact of the Day, I'll be talking about the premise of both of these works, along with the many different changes in censorship that we got after translating the works into English. Pokémon Adventures, often referred to by its Japanese title, Pokémon Special, is an adaptation of the Pokémon video games that began in 1997. And by adaptation, I mean it's basically a complete retelling. These adventures continue to be released to coincide with every game to be released to this date, but in this episode I'll be focusing on the ones I read as a child, the Red, Green, Blue, and Yellow chapters. All the characters in the game are around, including Red, not Ash, and all the gym leaders. Also included is Green, or Blue in the Japanese versions. That gets confusing. A female trainer who acts as a thief and a con artist, playing a sort of Catwoman-esque anti-hero. The series is interesting in that its plotline is so deeply removed from the games that it's basically its own story. Some trainers have become straight-up villains, while new gym leaders work alongside our heroes. I won't spoil too much, but it's definitely a good read for enthusiasts looking for something a little different. Speaking of different, this world is dark! Pokemon die throughout the manga, and just look at this scene where... Ugh! Oh god! Did that Arbok just get sliced in two? Sick! And look at these nasty zombie Pokemon. But unlike most American media, the violence wasn't cut whatsoever. There were, however, a few smaller incidents that were altered when moving to North America. It's interesting to note that these scenes were not altered in the original Viz print, which read from left to right, but rather the 2009 release, which ran from right to left. The original print, while containing a few minor changes, is relatively similar to the original. The first is a continuation of change that I talked about in my banned episodes video. Jinx, who received some flack by resembling blackface or stereotypical African American features, is now recolored to represent its new purple skin rather than black. The second is actually pretty hilarious. Can you cut an Arbok in half? Sure. But can a parent slap their child? No way, apparently. In this scene, instead of delivering a slap to Kryze's face, her mother instead delivers a mean look. Pokemon can kill each other just fine, but God forbid someone gets slapped. The third removes a funny scene where Green hides two Pokeballs in her top in a battle with Sabrina. She mocks Sabrina's looks, prompting her to attack Green with her Kadabra. Her clothes rip and, surprise! Those weren't her Jigglypuffs in there. It was an actual Jigglypuff. Van Clefairy. The 2009 edit cuts out the surprise attack altogether, making things pretty confusing when her bust magically shrinks from panel to panel. These few bits of censorship range from negligible to silly, but I still highly recommend you check the series out. The second edition print of the manga is still around, and you can check it in the link in the description to order the first 14 volumes straight from Viz at a reasonable price. The second manga, and by far the more problematic of the two, is The Electric Tale of Pikachu. Like Pokemon Adventures, this set ran beginning in 1997. The difference, however, is that this one ran as an adaptation of the anime rather than the games. As such, you have Ash, Misty, and Bronk as main characters battling through the Pokemon League, Team Rocket, and the Orange Islands. The manga generally follows the plot of the anime, picking out a few select episodes from the animated series, including the adventures of Clefairy and the Great Pokemon Race. The story still has a handful of deviations, though, such as Ash discovering Pikachu under the floorboards of his house, or capturing a Fearow early in the series. Because of its relative brevity, some of it goes pretty fast. Ash defeats Brock in just a single panel, and toward the end of the series he suddenly has 8 badges out of nowhere. But despite its lack of original depth, there are some awesome moments. The artwork is great, and some of the adaptations of the original plot points are even better than their originals. Remember in the anime where Ash loses to Richie in the Pokemon League because his Charizard is too lazy to battle his Charmander? The Pokemon League was the most exciting point of the anime for me as a child. I even recorded the episodes via VHS so that I could replay them with my friends. To have it all end with a sleeping Charizard was just disappointing. None of that in the Electric Tail of Pikachu, though. To conclude the battle with Richie, we get an epic Charizard on Charizard battle. Boom! I won't ruin how it ends, but it's definitely an excellent adaptation of what happens in the original story. Speaking of adaptations, however, there's one pretty big adaptation from the anime in this work, and it's pretty much every female character across it. Toshihiro Ono, while a great artist, falls into the usual manga artist trappings of drawing his women with an over-the-top bust size. Everyone in this series is sexualized in some form or another. Just look at the difference between the originals and the censored English volumes. If there's a woman in the show, they have a chest. We're talking everyone. Here's Jessie, with breasts bigger than her head, of course. And look at this school teacher's uniform. Makes perfect sense to me. Here we see Officer Jenny forgot to bring her pants to work. And Misty, yes, even 12-year-old Misty isn't safe. As a water-type trainer, it makes sense that Misty's design across the games and anime is consistent with, oh, I don't know, a professional swimmer? But in the Japanese version, they throw that out the window for, ew. Oh god. That doesn't even make sense. In addition to just about every frame, including a woman being altered, one scene was so bad it had to be cut from the English manga altogether. In this scene, Misty is bathing, just barely concealed by bubble froth, making a comment about how she wishes her breasts could evolve. Evolve from what? You are 12 years old! She then realizes to her horror that Ash, Brock, and Eevee Kid are sitting in the same path right behind her. She runs off naked in an awkward moment. This is borderline pedophilia. Not even. This just is straight pedophilia. Despite the impression I might give in my banned episodes video, I'm actually someone that's against media censorship for the most part. However, there's a difference between whether or not something should be censored and whether or not it's in bad taste. There's no reason for character designs to go from this to this. It doesn't add anything to the story or characters, and it's just tacky. I'm not even saying voluptuous characters don't belong in Pokemon at all, but it needs to have some kind of sense or context. Misty's sisters, for example, I have no problem with, because they're supposed to be beauty queens, allowing Misty's character to stand out as a rebellious tomboy capable of holding her own. But when you sexualize her too, you lose something. And that's not even getting into the fact that she's, 12? It's because of this one rare scenario that I actually like the censored Viz version of the manga better than the original Japanese version, and that's a very rare case. The Electric Tail of Pikachu is another story that I recommend, but it's pretty difficult to get a hold of in its entirety because it's out of print. It's weird though. If you check on Amazon, you can get the first 3 out of 4 volumes relatively cheap, especially if you get them used. The 4th and final volume though? Over $50 used and $250 new. What? That's preposterous! Why? After some digging around, here's all I can figure out. In the epilogue of the 4th volume, James professes his love to Jessie, and in one of the last panels you can see them together with a clearly pregnant Jessie. Now, in the context of the story, which only lightly mentions the Rockets throughout, it's actually pretty out of place. But Rocket shippers, fans who support a possible relationship between Jessie and James, probably bought the volume up in spades. It's a shame, too, because the Electric Tail of Pikachu, especially the censored version, is a great read. The Pokemon manga in itself is a relatively unknown realm of Pokemon that many fans have yet to experience, but as always, it's interesting to see what flies in Japan, but not over here. As always, thank you for watching, and catch you guys next time with a new Pokemon Fact of the Day. Boom, 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 boom.